Hey guys, welcome back to the Music Hole. My name is Cole. Now today we're going to travel back to 2001 to talk about another Elephant Six band, Beulah, with their album The Coast Is Never Clear. It's very indie pop kind of stuff with an emphasis on pop, absolutely. It's maybe just a little bit overproduced, but it's a lot of fun. You know, it's kind of a guilty pleasure. So I'm excited to talk about it with you guys. So let's just jump in to track 2 this time, which is different because track 1, while a good song, is not very interesting lyrically. So we're going to dive into track 2 for the first time ever and talk about A Good Man Is Easy to Kill.
I would be overstating if I said I knew you well, that I knew you at all. When you flew through that windshield and your life passed reel to reel, was there a bit part for me? Sun, so it would come true. But the sun froze along with your heart. So give up your love. Give up your love. I promise it's not gonna kill ya. And I need ya, Lord, I need ya.
So this is kind of an interesting song. You know, you've got this guy who apparently had a big crush on this girl who got into a car accident and she got flown through the window and now she's totally dead. But the interesting part is the guy is doing a little philosophizing. He's wondering, you know, did he play a bit part in her life? In other words, how often did this girl ever think about this guy, you know, if at all? And I think that's a very interesting road to go down because I think about that in my own life. I often wonder, you know, how often do people think about me? And if they think about me, what do they think about me? Do they think I'm cool? Do they think I'm a jerk? Do they think I'm nice? Do they have a crush on me? All sorts of stuff. And if I'm being honest, if I had one superpower, it would be to know what people are thinking. Of course, the caveat to that is sometimes you don't want to know what people are thinking because, like, what if you're ugly or something and you find out that everybody thinks you're ugly? That would be depressing. But, you know, in general, it would be kind of neat to know, are you in people's thoughts ever? And is it a good thought or a bad thought? So that's kind of what the song makes me think of, is it's just about a guy doing some philosophizing, you know, which I do myself, so why not? But anyways, let's move on to track 3, which is called What Will You Do When Your Suntan Fades?
This is gonna hurt, kid. You better hold on tight. You know, all those drugs you take cannot help you save your soul. Smile Sunday, smile, kid. You're fragile as a seam. You know, all those things you hide will not make you come undone. Tell me you'll be alright when you're in the shade. Tell me you'll be alright when you start to fade. Who's your only friend, kid?
So this is kind of interesting. This guy is imagining what it must be like for those people who just live for the moment, who are very self-absorbed. They live to party, right? They're the suntan people, which implies that they only care about how hot they look and not how like interesting they are or funny they are or kind they are. All right, they're very superficial. And so he's just thinking about this, and he's like, what are these people going to do when they're no longer young and beautiful, when you get right down to the core of them? Because when you're old and your skin is like sagging and all this gross stuff, all you're left with is somebody, is the real version of that somebody. So this is especially true for those women out there who try to get by purely on how beautiful they are. And you've got these men who only care about marrying some trophy wife, right? They don't care if their wife is like funny or smart or kind or any of that stuff. They just care that they're really hot. But the problem is, as this guy is thinking about, when you get to a certain age where that woman is no longer hot, now you're just stuck with somebody who's kind of boring, who's kind of lame, maybe even a little bit mean. They're not a good person, really, in other words. So, on one hand, yes, for a decent amount of your life, when your suntan hasn't faded, metaphorically, you're going to live the high life, you're going to have a lot of fun. But during the later years in your life, when your suntan has faded and all you've got is your actual personality and soul left, what are these people going to do when, everyone realizes, well, you're not hot anymore, and you're kind of a jerk, and you're kind of not that interesting, and you're kind of like not the best friend. So I appreciate that he's making me think of all these things. Try to be a good person throughout your life, and if you happen to be good looking, well, that's a bonus. You know what I mean? So anyways, but let's move on. Let's talk about track 4, which is a lot of fun. It's called Gene Autry.
Beautiful voice, he carries me home on his beautiful horse. Where she waits, I will ride. Come on, stranger, just sing me a song. And if it's sad, I'll sing along, long. I told ya I knew every word. When I get to California, gonna write my name in the sand. Gonna lay this body down and watch the waves roll in. And when the city spreads out, just like a cut vein, everybody drowns. Sad and lonely, well, everybody drowns. Sad and lonely, well, everybody drowns. Sad and lonely, alright.
Yeah, this song is very cheerful. It's a lot of fun. But the line that really interested me the most is when he says, "Come on, stranger, just sing me a song. And if it's sad, I'll sing along, long." And the reason that interested me is he's in a way talking about the beauty of art in the sense of, art is the only way that you can take a sad situation and make it fun and entertaining. Right, because obviously the guy singing a sad song, we don't know what it's about specifically. It doesn't matter. But the point is, to the people in the story of that song, that memory was really sad and depressing and awful and not a good time and tragic maybe. But to all the people enjoying the song of that story, they're having a good time. They're having a laugh. They're dancing to it maybe. So it's kind of interesting how artists, an artist's job is to take tragedy and make it beautiful. I like the very least, right? The very least is you take tragedy and you make it interesting or beautiful. And then of course the next step would be, this is where great artists come into the picture. The great artists take the tragedy and they make you think about it. They make you care about it, right? Especially like those anti-Vietnam songs in the 60s, they make you care about these things enough to protest, right? An artist's job, in my opinion, is to make you see the world in a new way, or to make you care about causes that maybe you don't know a lot about. So, this song makes me think of a few things, which I appreciate, but ultimately, it's just a very fun, hook-filled, melodic song. Lots of fun. But anyways, let's move on to track 5, which is called Silver Lining.
Punk rock was my first girl. She left me a scar, so I have her still. She's not young, but she's not old yet. We share the same sun, but hers never sets. You wanted a silver lining shining for you. You got it. A dark cloud always waiting for you. Weightless and tumbling through space. I remember her voice, but not her face. Floating, but she's always near. She wants to stay, but she can't stay here. You wanted a silver line shining for you. You got it.
So the way that I think about this song is punk rock is obviously not an actual girl, at least in my opinion. Punk rock is basically the attitude this guy had growing up in his teens, probably into his early 20s, where, you know, he's not really an adult yet. He's kind of immature, probably, to the point where his attitude is only good up to a certain point. And what I mean by that is you can only act a certain way before the reality of life sets in and you can't get away with it any longer. Right? Because you can't be like a lawyer and be just a total punk rock guy. I mean, maybe you could, but I would guess not, right? There's certain things you got to do. There's certain things that you can't do in order to, you know, be a lawyer or a doctor or a businessman or whatever it is. So in other words, he's equating punk rock to his first girl, which is another way of saying that it was his way of loving life, right? Because when you're with a girl, you're kind of loving life because here's somebody who loves you, who's going to be with you, who makes you feel happy, who makes you feel loved and special. So, you know, punk rock for this guy is kind of like being with a girl who loves him. That's how much it meant to him. But now that he's older, now that he can't get away with it anymore, he's feeling kind of sad and depressed, and the reality of life has hit him hard. So that's what the song makes me think of. But anyways, let's move along to track 6, which is called Popular Mechanics for Lovers.
I know you never felt romance, and we always like suspense. I can edit those parts out. I never made you feel complete. I'm a fall line beneath your feet. I would never bring you down, so down. Popular mechanics for broken hearts could help me now. Just because he loves you too, he would never take a bullet for you. Don't believe a word he says, he would never cut his heart out for you. I heard he wrote you a song, but so what? Some guy wrote 69, and one just ain't enough. And there's no sense in him trying. I know, 'cause I've been trying all the time to find a song that would make you mine. But all I ever find, my love, are cliches that don't rhyme.
So I identify with this song really hard because basically this guy was in love with a girl and they were together for a while, but he's a little lazy. He's not very motivated. He's in love with this girl, yes, but he's not one of those guys who keeps the romance going, who is he's not spontaneous, right? He's not a lot of fun. Basically what happened to this guy, I imagine, is, you know, he had a crush on the girl. He asked her out. She said yes. They went on a few dates. Maybe they dated for a few months. But ultimately, she realized this guy, you know, is not very romantic. He's a little bit lazy when it comes to relationships. And she got kind of bored of him, right? He didn't seal the deal, so to speak, soon enough so that like they would get married or whatever. And I relate to this song because I am the same way. I am at fault. I am definitely one of those guys who's romantic in the beginning, but as you know, we're together for months and then years and we live together and all that kind of stuff. I'm kind of slacking when it comes to like setting up dates and getting her flowers or chocolates or whatever. So I'm definitely like the guy in the song who lost his girl because the romantic energy just left me and left this guy. So, you know, this poor guy, he needs to figure it out. He needs to remember that relationships are a constant, you have to constantly work at it in order to keep the other person happy and around. But anyways, let's move on to track 7, which is called Gravity's Bringing Us Down.
I never saw you up there, 'cause you never made a sound. If I knew what you were up to, I would have shot you down. Hey, would you say I'm on the rebound? Watch me fall at the speed of sound. Your trigger fingers caught and I'm feeling weak. Open wide, I'm paralyzed. You were working on the inside, disconnecting the alarm. I was mixing up the signals, trying to turn me on. Hey, would you say I'm on the rebound? Watch me fall at the speed of sound. Your trigger fingers caught and I'm feeling weak. Open wide, I'm paralyzed.
So this song is a little bit confusing to me lyrically. It's a little open to interpretation, I would argue. But the way I think about it is I think of the first couple lines on this clip where he says, I never saw you up there because you never made a sound. And I like that line a lot because basically what it makes me think of is all of the women out there who you're not like instantly having a crush with, right? Because usually what's going on with the crush is you think they're really cute or beautiful, and that's like the motivation for your crush. You know, every now and then maybe also like their personality is part of it. But essentially, what he's making me think of with those two lines is there's so many women out there, like for example, as a guy, there's so many women out there who might be amazing for you, who might be, you know, how would you put it? They might be like 10 out of 10s if you were to get to know them, if you were to date them. You know, they might be right for you. They might be your soulmate. But for whatever reason, when you look at them, you don't get that feeling, right? You don't look at them and have this huge crush on them. So in other words, he doesn't know that all of these women that he interacts with all the time are actually like amazingly compatible with this guy. Because, you know, they're not, I keep forgetting the phrase. He's not putting them on a pedestal because he doesn't realize that they are like equivalent to that, right? They're kind of trophies in terms of like being really nice and really romantic and really loving, even if they're not like obviously 10 out of 10s. They would be if you got to know them, if that makes any sense. So I understand what he's going here a little bit, because there are definitely women who I'm not giving a fair shake, who if I were to go on a date with them and hang out with them, maybe I would fall in love with them, even if it wasn't like an instant connection. So it makes me think about that, which I appreciate. But anyways, let's move on. Let's talk about track 8 next, which is called Hey Brother.
Hey brother, get yourself together, don't you wait. Can't you see I'm waiting in the shadows to take your place? There is a chance that I'll keep trying to tell you the truth, but end up lying to you.
So this song is kind of funny to me because I imagine a guy who's very jealous of his friend because his friend is dating the girl of his dreams, basically. That's what it sounds like. But the problem is his friend is not a good boyfriend. His friend is like one of those guys, as we mentioned earlier, who's not very romantic, who's not keeping up the dating and the flowers and the chocolates and all that kind of stuff. They're not being spontaneous. They're not being very fun. So this friend of his, as far as he's concerned, is just on the brink of losing his girl. And of course, the main character really wants to date this girl. So he's just waiting in the wings, you know, even like lying to his best friend about it. Basically pretending like he's not interested in her in that way, even though he totally is. So in some respects, you could say he's being a bad friend because basically he's just waiting for him to fuck up such that he can ask this girl out. So I don't know what to think of this guy. Is he a good person? Is this kind of like not a big deal that he feels this way? Is it a big deal? What do you guys think? Is this guy a jerk or not? I don't know. You could argue that one way or the other. But anyways, so that's Hey Brother. Let's move on to the last clip I have from this album, which is from track 10. It's called Cruel Minor Change.
My cheeks are red and numb and swollen from the kisses of strangers dancing next to me. They're waiting on the sunrise or the Armageddon. It doesn't matter whichever comes first. Did you see those fireworks explode and fall and fade like tears? Well, I waited, it's well I waited. And please don't say that something is wrong. Clouds never parted, you never came. And please don't say that something is wrong. Clouds never parted, you never came. But we know you are.
So I really like the beginning of this clip when he says, there's strangers dancing next to me. They're waiting on the sunrise or the Armageddon. It doesn't matter, whichever comes first. And it gets me thinking about certain people's take on life, right? You've got people like me who are very kind of anxious, very shy. We think too much in the sense that we're constantly assuming things. And what I mean by that is, I've mentioned this before on the channel, where like, I'll think about something like, hey, there's a dance lesson this Saturday. Should I take it? And then in my mind, what I do is I imagine being there, and I imagine being kind of tired and not knowing what to do and feeling like kind of an idiot and just any number of things that would, in other words, like turn me off from the whole idea. But then you've got the other kind of people, the people on this song who just live life to the fullest, right? It's a live hard and die young mentality where basically the only thing that's going to stop them is the Armageddon or the sunrise, which is another way of saying getting too tired, or drug addiction or becoming an alcoholic or whatever it is. So in other words, they're going to do everything they can to have as much fun as possible until they finally get old and can't do it anymore because their back is blown or something, right? And I often wonder about this in my own life. Like, why am I not like that? Why am I one of those people who just lives in my head, who's just constantly assuming that I won't like something? Like for example, here's another good one. Think about all of those really cool music festivals in California. I often think about going to them, but then I'm like, well, they're in the desert and it's going to be really hot and I'm going to be sweaty the whole time and I'm going to be really thirsty and, I'm going to have to drink a lot of water, which means I'm going to have to go to the bathroom a lot. And that means I'm not going to have a lot of fun, right? And there's probably going to be a lot of drugs. And do I want to be around really drunk or high people? So I think about all these things and inevitably I decide not to do it. So that's kind of my unfortunate reality in a nutshell, is I need to just not think too hard. I need to just do it. So I'm jealous of the guy in the song. But anyways, so that's the album for me. That's The Coast Is Never Clear. Just a very poppy album, as you've heard. Maybe a little bit too overproduced, you could argue, but I enjoy it. I can listen to it front to back and have a good time. You know, side B is probably not as good as side A, but I still like it. So hopefully you guys enjoy it. Hopefully you find it interesting. Let me know in the comments, as per usual, what you thought about it. And if you enjoyed my video, please leave a like and subscribe. It would really help me out. But yeah, that is Beulah's The Coast is Never Clear. Check it out and have a good one.